Hi, I'm Mary Heflin.
And I'm Julia Bird. We have been partnering with Eurolief and working in Moria for the last few weeks. We're here for another few weeks. We were not on shift today when Pope Francis was visiting. However, we were watching it live online. We wanted to talk about our reactions to the video. At first, I was very nervous for the Pope to be coming because I knew that the eyes of the world would be on Moria today, and I didn't know exactly what they would see. We've spent the last few days clearing out several tents, clearing out people's homes, and putting them toward the back of Moria to make it appear as though the camp is less crowded than what it actually is. And it's been a very difficult few weeks. We weren't sure what people were going to see through these videos. But with that being said, I did greatly enjoy the Pope's speech, and I think that there was a lot of truth to what he was saying. And I think what stands out to me most is when he said that the world will be held accountable for the way that they've reacted to this crisis. These people are our friends. I used to watch a newscast and think, oh, that's a sad situation, but it's an entirely different thing to see the people on the screen and know their names and know their faces and to have sat down with them and to have talked to them and to hear their stories. These people are just like you and me. They're not just some random stranded refugees. They're all of us. Most of them are our age. Some of them are children. Some of them are men. They're women. And they have seen the most horrible of things. And yet somehow they still treat us with such kindness. They run to hold our hands, or they invite us into their tents to talk with them and offer us what little that they have. They're so grateful when we scrub their bathrooms or when we give them clothes that don't even fit them properly. They show so much love to us. And I guess my biggest frustration is I don't understand the fear. And it's exactly what Pope Francis was talking about, the fear of them. Like, they're the ones that are running, they're the ones who deserve to be afraid. They have just given up everything to come over here. And they're met with this. They're met with Moria, which is understaffed. Eurolief is like one of the only organizations left in there. And they're just left with wondering what the future is going to look like, what it's going to hold for them and for their children. They sit there day after day, just waiting for what? What are we so scared of? And I truly believe that we will be held accountable for our actions. With that being said, it's not too late to change the course of this history, to help them, to accept them into our country, to fight for them, to advocate for them. Because even just now, on the video, there's a few of them, select few, that got chosen to sit down for lunch, and we know 3 of them. I'm Facebook friends with them. They're our friends. They're not refugees, they're our friends. And they deserve to be heard, and they deserve to be free, and they deserve to be treated like a human, and they deserve to have rights.
It was really surreal to see our friends standing in front of the Pope as he spoke and him looking out at them. Or even a couple of our friends sitting down to eat lunch with him. And it just made me think, I hope that he sees them with the eyes that we do. I hope that he hears their story and knows the hardship that has brought them to this point. And please hear my heart when I say that the Syrian people are running from a war. That's true. But there are so many different types of people in this camp. There are people from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran. There are people from Cameroon, from the Dominican Republic, from all over the world. And this deal that is classifying the Syrians as refugees and everyone else as just an immigrant breaks my heart, because everyone in that camp is a refugee. They're seeking refuge from something. and they're seeking a better life for their family, for their children, and they have worked so hard to get to this point. You hear stories of the people in Afghanistan. There's a 16-year-old boy that we met last night. His family is all gone. They were killed in a bombing, and he's the only one that's left. He escaped, and now he's in the camp waiting to hear if he's going to be deported back to Afghanistan, to that same circumstance. There's families who have worked for years to bring each other to this point. They've lived in Turkey for 6 months at a time, a year at a time, working, learning Turkish to save money to bring their family members over here. And now they wait to hear if they're going to be deported right back to point B, point A, where they started from. And who knows if they've spent their life savings to get to this point only to be sent back to right where they started from. And the Pope, my prayer is that he sees these people for who they really are. Just people just like you and me. If we were living in New York at the time of 9/11 and our family was bombed and we decided to leave, it would be the same exact circumstance. And these people deserve safety, they deserve love, they deserve dignity, and they deserve a better life for their families. And the world needs to turn its eye on this crisis, because it's not just the Syrian people, it's all people in the Middle East in persecution, in danger, and it's especially the Syrian people who need a place to live because Syria is no longer a viable place for them to live, no longer a peaceful, safe place for their families. They've had to run from bombings. They've had to run from not only their government, but from ISIS as well. Yeah. And it can no longer be ignored.
And it just baffles me that we're so terrified of ISIS, yet they're there, like they're experiencing it. They're in the midst of it. There was a man who said that ISIS came in and killed his wife, and he's here. And you think, man, like, why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid to let these people in? They have been through so much already. And I wish that we could go into detail about what it's like in Moria. But to go through all that and land in Moria is just unbelievable to me. The other night I was sitting there and thinking, what if this was me? Like, what if I was behind these bars? For what? For trying to escape? And it's very difficult because, especially today with the riots and stuff that are happening in other camps, I truly believe that when you cage people like animals, they will behave like animals, because there's nothing for them to do. They're sitting around in grief and in anger, and for what? They have done nothing. They're the ones who are running. And it makes, like today our one friend was saying that they wanted to welcome the Pope with a poem, and they're from Afghanistan, and that they had this whole beautiful thing prepared, and it just like touched my heart. I'm like, you've been through so much, and like you want the world to see like your kindness still. So I just encourage you that when you see news clips and you hear news clips of all these things going on, just know that these people have been through so much, but yet they have so much love and kindness to share, and that they look out for us in the camps. Lord knows we're understaffed, and they translate for us all day long. They help us carry things. They help us keep the camp going and under control. Like
There's a little tiny food truck outside the fence, and there's a tiny hand-sized hole in the fence, and they buy coffee through the fence to just warm themselves at night as they sit and talk. And I've had coffee bought for me 3 times now by people who've become our friends, who have such incredible stories that they just want to share with us. And we've heard stories like one of my friends now that I've made here in camp said that his mother was killed and now his father is missing in Syria. And somehow they were able to get his younger siblings out, and he's just trying to get to them. They're living in Germany right now. And all he wants to do is get to them because he escaped, and he wants to go be with them and take care of them.
My one friend, or family that I met yesterday, her husband has been in Austria for 2 years working to get them paid over here, and she has 5 children. And we spent the whole afternoon with them, and they were singing to us, and we were singing to them. And Lord knows I can't sing, so that was an experience. But it breaks my heart because I'm like, well, where are you from? And she's like, Afghanistan. And my heart just broke because how can I look at her and her 5 kids and just know that they've spent everything, every dime they have to get here, and that they're just going to be sent back.
Right back to square one. People have risked their lives. They've been beaten by the Syrian and the Turkish police. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to this point. And they're just going to be sent back because the UN and the EU and the United States decided that the things they're running from aren't good enough of a reason to be called a refugee. So now there's classifications of people's suffering and experiences. And there's just a misunderstanding of what these people have experienced and who they are.
And they're incredible people. They're some of the most amazing people that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting.
Last night we sat and one of our friends played guitar for us and sang to us in Farsi, and then other people would come up and sing traditional folk songs in Arabic.
Or write our names in Arabic.
Or write little just phrases, and mine are a little bit washed off, but I had my hands covered. I'll post a photo of that later. And it's just so beautiful, the cultures being shared in this camp and the love being shared. And it just shows you so much that despite their stories and despite our stories, we've sat around and talked about our families, about our lives back home. We've shared pictures, we've shared stories, and they're just people.
I don't see refugees on TV. I see my friends. Quite literally, I see my friends' faces. And so for those of you who are wondering, what can we do? What can we do? Honestly, spread the word. Keep the spotlight on what's happening here, because change has to happen. And people have to be aware of what's going on, and they have to keep pushing for change until something happens, until a resolution is made for this problem. Keep talking about it. Keep spreading it. Keep spreading this. Let people know everything that's happening. Share it.
Minds need to be changed, and hearts need to be opened, and borders need to be opened. We need to be welcoming these people in and helping them to find a better life for their families, because that's what they deserve. It's what anyone deserves.
Yeah.
And I promise you when I tell you that these people are lovely and wonderful, peaceful and full of joy and love despite their circumstances. They've shared so much of that with us and let us into their stories and their lives, and they've seen and experienced some horrible, unbelievable things. And we're casting them aside, keeping them in this detention center. Prison. There's razor wire, there's fences, there's locked gates, they're not allowed to leave, and they stand in line for up to 2 hours for a meal every day, every meal. And it's a crisis.
So we just wanted to make this video to bring awareness to what's happening, and to tell you that there was a lot of truth in what the Pope had to say today, and that I hope his visit really does shine light on the situation and really does open people's eyes to what's going on in this camp, and to know that us, people that you might know firsthand, the people you saw in yellow vests out there, that's us. We're there. We're there, and we're experiencing it firsthand, and we want to share with you our experiences. So.
And if you have questions and you want to know what's really going on in the refugee camps, what's really going on with each of these people, ask us. because we are experiencing it every day.
Yeah. So feel free to message us, and goodbye.
Bye.